what we did here is that we basically were using the various aspects we did with Jupiter to help a nonprofit, a cancer-based nonprofit, with their annual fundraising. So the issue is that they have an annual fundraising event, and one of the things they didn't really know is basically, are we on track to meet our fundraising goals? So one of the things they gave us is they gave us about 7 or 8 years worth of data, and we were using some of the SaaS procedures, mainly in forecasting, in order to build forecasts to understand how are their fundraising goals progressing. And so we could use the historical data. The dots here represent the actual values, and the lines are the forecasted values. This vertical line here was the time at which we ran it. So everything after that were our forecasts to understand basically how much money should you have next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now to meet your fundraising goal.
Are these predicted bounds on
your team? Yes, so this is the expected value, and then this is the 90% confidence interval that we kind of do automatically from the Jupyter kernel. SAS automatically brings this information back to us. It's really nice that way, in that a few lines of code will generate a lot of output to be able to make diagnostic plots and decisions.
Now, the people who are doing the fundraising, do they have this kind of domain expertise? I can imagine doing predictive bounds on forecasting.
No, they didn't have it all. But and so that's where I help them interpret some of that information. But basically say, here's how much money you should have by the end of next week. Here's what you should expect 2 weeks. And if you don't have that much money, then if they didn't have that, then they could look at what are our mitigating strategies, what do we do? Because in an annual fundraising cycle, if you miss that date, it's a long time. It's 52 weeks before you're back to it. The other thing is there was a bunch of secondary questions they wanted to know about can we make predictions about how much people will raise based on demographic and socioeconomic information they provide us. And we worked through some of that using Python and SAS as well, building decision trees, etc. And then they also wanted to look at their influential networks to see, because some people will just take and write a check for the amount that they pledged. Right. Lots of other people will use their friends and family, co-workers, etc. to help raise that funds. And so we wanted to study that and understand which people are contributing to multiple campaigns or year over year, which people, if we have, in this situation where there's a finite amount of time, it's where should they focus their efforts? Which clients or which members would be the most beneficial in reaching their fundraising goals?
So we've got time series analysis here. We've got geospatial.
Geospatial, and then here's optimization.
Social, wonderful.
Optimization and that. So able to use all those different aspects using a combination of SAS and Python, all in a Jupyter notebook.
Now, one thing I was curious about the time series here, it looks like it's very cumulative. It's kind of going exponential there.
Right. Well, so what happens is the way the fundraising works is that right before the end, usually the event is held at the end of the third quarter. That's September, October timeframe. And so there's a building thing. The most of their money is raised the month or two before that. And so you can see that build, and you can see that over time they're raising more and more money. They're becoming more effective at it. That this is the date of the event. We're usually under forecasting that value because they make more money than we've assumed. The other thing that's happening here that complicated their analysis a little bit was that they have different numbers of walks. So some years they had 7 or 8 events. Sometimes they only had 4, and so there was some amount of splitting and moving the data around that made it more difficult for them to kind of understand.
To get
how much money do we expect to raise from this event here? Because we think people, 60% are coming from this one and 40% are coming from that one that happened last year, which we're not doing anymore. They moved the sites around year over year.
Well, along those lines, I'm curious, were there surprises once you got into more formal analysis?
There were some surprises about how much money was actually being raised so close to the end of the event. They really had no idea that how big a percentage was being raised just 2 or 3 weeks before the event. And so, they kind of adjusted some timelines and guidelines as to, how much should we have and how much should we, basically, the last 2 weeks is like, it's all hands on deck. We're all going to be doing this all day long to make this go. And here's where we should be spending our time. We should get these other tasks done before, because now it's going to hit crunch time.
Fantastic.
So it was a huge benefit to them, and it was great to do something, data for good type of idea.
Well, and that's another interesting question. There are a lot of different chapters I've seen for DataKind and other people doing data for good kind of meetups. If people want to contact you or get involved in this?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I mean, I had a personal connection here that my sister-in-law actually works at the organization, so it was easy to do it. But yes, this type of idea I'm happy to share with and work with other people in getting involved.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.